So no one knows anything. I don't know how to answer that. In common parlance, if we have a conversation and you say, you tell me, oh, Kamala Harris was debating Trump the other day, then I might say, oh yeah, I know that. Or if you go to university and you study this or that, then you know about that. But ultimately, yeah, you can also argue that no one knows anything. Yeah. I don't know what use that would be, though. Except for kind of preempting the fact that this knowing carries a lot of self-importance, or it can carry a lot of self-importance. If I say I know that there was a presidential debate in the US, or someone says they know about math because they studied math, that's not necessarily tied to some pride about knowing, but it can be. And that's the only issue, really. Otherwise, I don't see anything interesting about this question. In this line of, so no one knows anything, then the answer would actually be, well, there is no one. So how can anyone know anything, right? Use for what? I don't know what you mean. Use of knowing something? I don't know. To have a conversation, to get a degree, I don't know, whatever. What's the question? Like, what makes you want to ask if no one knows anything? Like, what would be what's the difference? That's what I mean. There is no need. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. There's no need for anything. Yeah. Okay. What use has anything ultimately? Your answer is good as mine. I don't know. Nothing. None. Um, if a child is enjoying itself and laughing, then would you say to the child, what's the point? Why are you laughing? It's just for joy. Why does it have to have a use? These kind of questions, they kind of, I don't know, sometimes they seem to get some kind of look for some kind of answer that either will justify a miserable point of view, like, oh, everything's hopeless, or get some kind of salvation from that point of view. You can frame these things any way you want. You can say there is no purpose to anything. and then you can sound really like radical and stuff, right? Or you can say, uh, the only purpose that you could speak about is expression. It's like, I mean, if we ultimately what we're talking about is love, right? So would you ever question, if you're in love with someone, or if you love your child or love your parent, would you ever question the purpose of that? I mean, would you really explain it scientifically as somehow self-preservation, or how do what do you call it, like reproduction or something like that? Then yeah, then you just have a mechanical point of view or something if you want to have that. But there is no need for to answer the question of purpose, and there's no need for a purpose. Or you can say the purpose is joy or love or expression. Hey Molly, do you give any credence to the idea that the moon cycle affects our own energies and feelings? I don't know if I give any credence to it, but some people get affected. I mean, if it can pull the sea, why wouldn't it be able to affect s- our own energies? I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's something that can be measured biologically. What's for sure is that a lot of people. This is the snag in this kind of thing. That a lot of people will say, "Oh, I can't sleep when it's the full moon. Oh, I'm so affected by the moon." And then you build a self-image. I am the kind of person who can't sleep when it's full moon, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And a lot of times, if you listen to how people share this kind of stuff, you can tell that ultimately, first it's a bit of self-pity, like, oh, I can't sleep, and then it's like, oh, I'm so sensitive because I get affected by the moon. You know what I mean? That's the ego game really in this stuff. Beyond that, whether there is biological effect of the moon, I don't know. Maybe not, but also I would think, why not? If it can pull the sea, I don't know. I really don't know. But it's more, what's usually involved in that kind of question is a fixing of, I'm like this, I'm like that. So just to have another reason to talk about myself, or to have some kind of image of myself, right? What is between purpose and no purpose? I don't know. They're just words. I don't know what you mean. Uh, I would, as I was saying, I would say you can say there is a purpose, which is expression, or joy, or love, pure abundance, or you can say there is none. So it's not like there is this and that, and then there's something in between. Both, you can say something about both if you want to, but if you just keep your mouth shut, then neither of them has any meaning at all. Um, if you look at the abundance that there is in nature, if you don't try to describe it, if you just, yeah, if you look at the abundance in nature, it's evident that there is no purpose. It doesn't need a purpose. Not because there is a state of purposelessness, like hopelessness, but it just doesn't need it. You are not getting me. What is between thoughts? There is a purpose, and thought, there is no purpose. I don't know. I don't know what there would be between thoughts. I really don't know how to answer that. It seems very metaphysical. What is your stance about sexual abstinence? Is it helpful spirituality wise? Spiritually wise? uh, yeah, for spirituality, it's very helpful. If you want to be spiritual, then it's very helpful. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Um, Spirituality is ego fueled, yeah, and so is sexual abstinence. So if you want to cultivate an image of yourself as spiritual, then sexual abstinence is part of that. It's kind of very noble to forego your animal desires, and become spiritual. Spirituality is nonsense. It's a hoax. It's a I don't mean spirituality as ego, quite the opposite. Well, then it won't be spirituality. That's as simple as that. Then you're getting down to what's really raw. Then you would talk about what there is, which is an animal nature, really. Yeah. And that has nothing, that's as far as you can get away from spirituality. And for anything to be helpful, it has to have some, there has to be some, like, why would you need help for something? Like, it's it implies a goal orientation. Yeah. So if you're talking about some egoless state or something, or the end of ego, then that's not a goal. It's not a, how to say, like, to adopt any kind of doing. Oh, I'm going to do this exercise or that exercise, or not do this and not have sex. That implies some kind of practice and some kind of a process, or this is better to do, this is not better to do, and some kind of steps that you can take to achieve something. Yeah. And that has nothing to do with what there already is, which is abundance. Um, yeah. Everything really goes through the fact that we are one of the forms of life that exist. So we are, in our case, we are mammals. So we are one of the animals. Yeah. And there is complete equality. Obviously, that's a logical fact, because the life energy, let's say, or just energy, if we can kind of agree, just for argument's sake, that that's all there is, then how could you have any aspect of that that is better or worse, right? Higher or lower? It doesn't matter what science says. It doesn't matter what the human mind has come up with, that we are the apex predators, and somehow that, in fact, what the mind has come up with is a lot of explanation to justify the human place above everything else. Yeah. Even when you say, what use has anything got? Ultimately, if you strip that back, it comes it comes from this view of humans at the top, and everything has a use for us. Okay. The fact is, this is just human. It's basically an abuse of the ability to think. Yeah. So concepts and ideas are made which don't really exist by nature. What exists by nature is nature itself, and we are an inseparable part of nature, you could say. The the like expressions of individual life forms. Yeah. It's just an abundance of expression. So within that, human beings are animals. So really, everything goes through our nature, our animal nature. So you couldn't have more of a fucked up thing to have sexual abstinence to create some kind of higher something, right? It couldn't be more fucked up than that. Because if anything, uh, true nature goes through sexual nature. That's the energy. That's where the energy is. That's where life gets created and furthered, right? So how can that be? How can sexual abstinence have anything of consequence apart from more ego palaver? Yeah, and special self images of how noble and how divine and all this. Yeah, it's really, everything goes through our animalness. Yeah, that resolves all the question of whether there's a self or no self. Look at a dog, look at a horse, look at a bird. Do they need a self? But do we say they don't exist? Yeah, it's kind of you have to approach this subject with a little sensitivity to um, your common sense is your friend. Common sense gets put away as something like kind of minor, but it's actually pretty central, because it's really the guidance system that we have. It's the commonality of all our senses, and that's animalness. Yeah, our senses that we know, the outer senses of seeing, hearing, and so on, but in every other way as well. My sense of feeling calm, my sense of justice, my sense of respect, or my sense of self-respect, these are all senses. You could say they're metaphorical senses, but they're senses. You know that if someone comes in and behaves like an idiot or something, or is super obnoxious and loud, you get a sense of embarrassment, right? You can't say that you don't feel that. So you have a sense of it. You have a sense of what's fair in a certain situation. There is a sense of it. All these senses together are our common sense. When we follow ego goals, the common sense isn't working fully functional anymore, right? Really, the end of ego would be a return to harmony of that common sense. Everything is in its place, things are functioning. Yeah, we're really like, with the ego business that goes on, we're really like a caterpillar that has forgotten how to coordinate its legs. And now it needs some steps and some, would this be a good practice? Would this be good for me to just walk harmoniously? Hey Molly, I don't know. Do you think that all the imbalance caused by collective ego is going to be fixed before humans go extinct? I don't know. I don't know. And even if they go extinct, who knows that they couldn't appear again, right? It's one life form among so many. So many life forms have gone extinct before. So I feel like I still feel out of balance, and it makes some catastrophizing thoughts. Yeah, but those are they're kind of in the ether, you know. Don't make them yours. How phones and technology ruin so much. No, it's not really, you know, technology, phones, all these things, they're a gift as well, you know. There's this is the thing, like our ability to think is a gift. It's just that it doesn't have anything special about it. It's not better than other animals' gifts, right? It's a unique gift, and we've some amazing things have come of it. The abuse of it comes down to claiming an ego, but it doesn't mean that phones or technology or any of this is bad. So you just take care of your own little circle. Yeah, it's how you live with your phone that you have and the technology in your life. If you have an issue with it, if you have some addiction to a phone, for example, or anything, or TV or whatever, that's like quitting smoking. You know, um, to get back to a balanced way where you use technology that's around you in a harmonious way, it's not that big a deal, really. And you don't even quit it like you would cigarettes if you want to quit cigarettes. Nothing wrong with smoking cigarettes either. Um, but yeah, these thoughts of catastrophe and stuff, they are really got to really tune out of that stuff. Don't watch too much news. Don't spend time with people who keep talking about this shit. That's all. That's what I would do anyway. Is nature harmonious? What kind of question is that? If I just like this is my I'm just giving you certain words for this stuff, yeah? I'm just expressing it in a certain way, that's all. And I've just been talking about our animal nature and about the common sense about how that's harmonious, then why would you ask that question? You don't see harmony, that doesn't mean nature isn't harmonious. You see what you're seeing then is that you're looking through the lens of what you've been conditioned to see. You've bought into all everything that you've read and heard and listened to other people, all in the servitude of the collective ego, all in the servitude of seeing humans as special. Yeah, that's the narrative. You could say that's the current worldview. That's the paradigm in which we live. Yeah, vilify nature, put it down so that you're on top of it. Simple as that. That's all there is to it, in a way. Yeah, you have to get some kind of obedience. So this paradigm of seeing humans above nature or separate and definitely above, superior to nature, has to have some kind of uh, it doesn't have any energy of its own, this worldview. So you have to get people to buy into it. You have to. This is the conditioning process. It's very simple. You propagate this stuff and so many belief systems based on this stuff, and then you just keep the thing going. And then you buy into the fact that your nature, your animal nature, they are the part of nature which is lower, so they are bad, they are low, they are dirty, they're evil, whatever you want to say, or whatever you've been taught. And then what's the solution? To combat it, to fight against it, to cultivate your some kind of highness, some kind of divinity, higher self, all this stuff, spirituality. That's what spirituality is. It's a striving for something higher. And why higher? Well, because it's always upwards, right? We are higher, God is higher. We're attempting to be like God when all we've done is paint an image of a God in our likeness. It's not the other way around. Yeah, it's just the harmony that you don't, the disharmony that you see is certainly not nature. If you go into nature, you go somewhere where there is a forest, it's birds are singing, you don't see harmony there. So what you see around yourself is humanity, what humans have done. It's not nature. It's the abuse of the mind. That's it. The justification for why we're on top is that we have the ability to think. So we are the most sophisticated, the most complicated, yeah, the most complex. God made everything for us. We are like God's greatest creation. So we have a responsibility to live up to that, to be good and all this. So the abuse, the belief that it's thinking, the ability to think, which makes us special, is the disharmony itself, you could say. Anyway, I have to move the chat up a little bit to see. Okay. Do you think there is hell other than living? Can you write that again, Molly? There's not much point in catastrophizing, even though it's a habit. Yeah. Whatever's in the gone is gone. So if you bring it back here now by saying, "Oh, this is how I am. This is how I've always been," there's no point. I don't know whether you're asking do I think there's hell other than living, like getting lost in ego? No, of course not. That's it. That is hell, if there is such a thing. But hell is really just a word that's been used. It's just an invention. It's just some place that's been invented to scare people. If you do like this, then you'll go into this place of fire and suffering for all eternity. It's just look how drastic and extreme it is. It's to get people to comply to go on with the established conditioning, yeah, to not question it. don't see humans as above nature. I would say it's the opposite. Humans is the weakest animal in the jungle. I fear snakes and spiders, other animals like that. Yeah, to me that sounds like a reaction to the conditioning. Yeah, so now I'm going to take the opposite view. Humans are now not the highest, but the lowest, and look all the bad things humans have done, and so on. It's just a judgment. See that these things are just judgments. Your take on what you're judging what you're making conclusions based on just on what you see and what you hear. The fear of snakes and spiders is not because humans are the weakest animal in the jungle. The fear of snakes and spiders is because you think in the first place in terms of the jungle, stronger, weaker. There's conflict there. It's still, even that, the reaction to it, the opposite of it, is still part of that system. You have to have, for there to be uh, oppression, let's say, there has to be an oppressed. Otherwise, the whole concept of oppression doesn't make sense. Yeah, if you are, uh, if you rebel against the system, yeah, if you become some kind of revolutionary, and then you have some kind of opposition, right? If you believe, let's say, in revolution, or now you like, yeah, these kind of systems create each other. Yeah, so the revolutionary, the rebel, is as much part of this system as the one who's oppressing. Yeah, you have to see that. You have to see that there is these things perpetuate each other. Yeah, this sense of opposition. Oh, I'm going to fight this now. That's still all part of that system. I mean, it makes logical sense as well that the fear of snakes and spiders is because animal is viewed as dangerous. Nature is viewed as dangerous or somehow unpredictable, evil, lower. Yeah, all those kind of things. It's evident. It's self-evident. And the way of thinking that says this animal is the strongest in the jungle, this is the weakest in the jungle, just that way of thinking is that whole system. Isn't that common sense that snakes are dangerous? No, a lot of snakes aren't dangerous at all. And then there's caution. Yeah, caution and fear are very different. If I see a snake, I'm going to be careful. But that care is also a respect. It's not to enter into that snake's space. The snake isn't going to chase you down and bite you. The snake's going to bite you if you enter its space. I feel like when you talk about the ego, you imply there is personal volition. And I feel like the way things are in the US with the amount of technology and media, it's so hard for people not to get stuck. But that's honestly, Molly, that's just an excuse. It's hard for people. Like, for example, I know people who only watched TV growing up, so they have all those beliefs about nature, which are absurd to me. But it's all they have known. Okay, but that's not you. Let them have whatever beliefs they want. Everyone uh, has a way in if they want it. You know. But why do they need your empathy or whatever? You know. Personal volition is a so uh, within the nervous system, what we call the will is located in the back of the neck. Okay. So the energy to put your, let's say, uh, your deepest wishes, your deepest desires, your passions, your what you want to do in life, the energy to put that into practice comes from what you could call your will. Okay. I don't want to get into the discussion of free will right now. That's a different concept, very conceptual discussion. Yeah, but there is such a thing as this energy, which you get, like you get sunshine and you get food to put into practice that which you want to do. So if you have intuitively have some desire for anything, like, oh, I want to travel there, the energy to plan that, to maybe resist someone who says no, you shouldn't go there, that's not good, or that's not a nice place, whatever, the determination, the firmness to follow your own will, let's put it that way. Yeah, so that's the extent of personal volition, if you want to call it that. So there is certainly, of course, there is a it it's not a okay, the discussion of free will, it's not a free will in the sense that you're acting, you're kind of reacting. So for example, you get a feeling that you want to do this or that, you didn't come up with that, you didn't fabricate that. Your will, so called, is a response to that. Okay. So if you have if you get a glimpse or a feeling that there is something different there, that there is something that you're kind of dissatisfied with here, with the beliefs about nature, growing up watching TV all the time or whatever, you want something different, you feel that there's something more, something deeper, then you can respond to that, or you can ignore it because you're scared. That's the extent of maybe free will. Yeah, but everyone has those opportunities again and again and again in life. It's only about the investment that we have in the images we have about ourselves. Yeah, so you have something stuck, something that was maybe you came up with 3 years ago, like, oh, I'm whatever, scared of confrontation. Yeah, let's put it that way. That's just an example. So 3 years ago, something happened, and now I've made a conclusion about that argument that I just had, and now I'm like, fuck, I really seem to be scared of confrontation. Now I'm going to go forward 3 years, and still I've got an image of myself that was based on that one conversation, or maybe 5 conversations, I don't know. But I've come to the conclusion with a lot of certainty that I am like that. Yeah. Then I've created my reality. That's got to be fair enough, right? That's pretty clear. So in that same way, I have the possibility, if I want, to keep cultivating those kind of self images and to try and follow a track which will get me recognition, which would get me approval, which would get me some kind of acceptance from others, right? I can do that all my life. I can chase money, I can chase fame, I can chase uh, anything I want. But I can also respond to whatever other senses I might get, other feelings I might get, other intuitive prompts I might get. Yeah. And everybody gets that. Doesn't matter how much TV they watched in their life. The personal volition is just the ability to respond to a stimulus. And if you have the personal volition to respond to a stimulus that comes from within, then that's one so-called choice, you could say. Or you can have the will to follow only stimuli which come from outside. Other people telling you what to do, society telling you what's good to pursue, and so on, yeah? Or the internet or social media or whatever. That's really the extent of it in terms of personal volition. Okay, that's good. But really, in terms of peace of mind, or you know, being able to really follow one's own directive with some kind of uh, contentment, yeah, to not open the door for things which can trample that contentment or seem to do so. It's us who open that door. If we're in any way attached to trying to make it right for others, or trying to get their approval or whatever, then we ourselves open that door. And even that happens, so what? But there is a point where you got to put your foot down, where you got to be firm about stuff. Yeah, when it comes to, let's say, an important decision, whether to move there or not, to the other country, which is where you want to go, and that's what you want to do, that's where you want to do things, and something is telling you, other people or others are telling you not to do that, then at some point you're going to feel there is a point where it's going to be strong enough that you might make compromises for a long time, and then one day some instance will come, and then you have that opportunity again to be firm, which you had before too, but then you didn't take it. So what? Then you take the next one. It's funny, how we, like, this comment that, isn't it common sense that snakes are dangerous, or fearing snakes, or it's like we want to take on board everyone's opinion, but we don't want to respect our own intuition. So our opinions, which are also important always, all they are fabrications of what we've heard, and then we've nicely packaged them together, and then we give them out to others. Look how much I know about this subject or that subject. But the intuition is that's like the last thing we would ever go with. Why? Because it doesn't give us recognition. how petty is that? How small is that?